Hello, Fearless Stampers. I am here today with a video for you that goes along with this week's newsletter. And I had decided to share with you some gift bags that I was taught how to make in a retreat that I attended a couple months ago by my upline. And I was writing a tutorial to do it. And I'm like, this is so complicated. And it's not really complicated, but writing it down and making pictures of how to do it was taking a lot of time. So I decided instead of doing a written tutorial, although I do have one semi-written, I'm just going to make you a video and show you how to do it. So these are cute little bags. You can see the picture in the newsletter of several that I've already made. And so let's go ahead and make another one, and I'll turn my camera down and we will get started. All right, this is the paper I'm going to use. If you try this, I highly recommend that you take some designer series paper that you're not really crazy about for your first bag, just in case you mess up, then you didn't ruin something that you're in love with. But I know that you all have lots and lots of designer series paper. And I know that because you've told me that. So this is a great way to use some of that up. And what I want to walk through with you today before we actually get started on the bag is I'm going to show you what I do have so far in the way of a tutorial. This is a picture of a bag. And I have some dimensions on here. Now, those of you who aren't engineers or don't like math, don't worry, this is easy. It's pretty straightforward. The height of the bag is this H. The depth of the bag is the D. And the width of the bag is the W. Duh, that's pretty easy, right? And then we have this little flap that folds over. And I just called that the top. Now, what I wanted to do in the tutorial is to try to show you how to determine what size designer series paper, what size you need to cut your paper. So you can see I have several different bags on here. A couple of them use a 12 by 12. One uses a 6 by 6. And then I have an example here that's to be defined, and that just uses these dimensions, the top, the depth, and the height. This is not, this is the bottom and the sides. Okay, so the bottom and the sides. All right, we're going to use this as also a proofreading of my tutorial to see if it makes sense. So let's say, for example, I want my bag to be 7 inches high, 3 inches deep, and 5 inches wide. How do I determine what size designer series paper I need to cut? And whatever size it comes out to be, you'll need to cut 2. Always you'll have to cut 2 to make the bag. So to figure the height, that's actually pretty easy, right? You know you need the height of 7 inches, plus you need whatever amount you want to fold over, and then you're going to need something to go across the bottom, which I call the depth. So the height down here is basically going to be, for this bag, my example of 7 inches, it's going to be 7 plus, I'm gonna say, let's make our top 2 inches. So 7 plus 2 plus 3. So I have 9 and 3, it equals 12. Oh, that worked out. Phew. Because if it came out to 13, then you got to readjust your dimensions because we don't have paper that's as big as 13. So my height is going to be, of my designer series paper, my height is going to equal 12 inches or a full sheet of designer series paper. Now the width, well, I know I need 5 inches. So the width is 5. It will equal 5. Plus I need some on each side. So I need 2 times 3. Or I could just say plus 3 plus 3. And this is here, it's I have a different example in the tutorial, but here, so this would be 5, that equals 8 plus 3 is 11 inches, right? So I want to make my designer series paper 12 inches high by 11 inches wide. Now, it doesn't, if you have directional designer series paper like this example has, then it matters which is your height and which is your width. If this was non-directional, turn it however you want it, but you want your ornaments to run up and down. So if I bring in my cutter and I said 12 inches high by 9 inches wide, then I need to cut down these 2 pieces to 9 inches. So I'm going to cut off 3 inches, right? And I'm going to cut one at a time. So I hope I did this right. Look at my dimensions. No, I said 11 inches. All right, so take that back, 11 inches. So I'm going to cut this down and take this inch off. All right, so that's my first piece, and then my second piece is going to be the same. Line it up with 11 over here. And cut out that piece of paper. All right, and that's all we need to cut. Now we need to do some scoring, and I could do this on my cutter. I actually prefer to score with my Simply Scored tool. It just is easier for me. So now to determine where I score, I obviously want my depth or my sides, you could call it, and my bottom to be 3. And I wanted my top to be 2. So this is my top. So let's do that first. So I'm just going to turn this on its side. And I am going to score this at 2 inches. Here's the 2 on my score pal. So I will just bring this down. With designer paper, I use the large end because you do have to be careful. If you use this little inlet and you push too hard, sometimes you can actually just cut it. So I'm going to do both tops first, just so I don't get mixed up. So there's my 2. So now both of my tops are at 2. Now I said I wanted my depth to be 3. And so your depth on each side and your bottom are always going to be all the same. So I want to do 3 all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to score this at 3. And I will turn the bottom at 3. I hope this turns out right because I did not practice this. And this at 3. I've not made this size bag before. So the piece in the center, which you probably can't see the scoring, maybe you can see it a little bit better on the back. We could double check if we wanted and measure that. And that measures 5, close enough. And this measures 7, close enough. So my calculations were correct. And that's where I'm saying use a piece of either scrap paper maybe, or just some designer paper you have that you don't really like. You know how it comes in packs and there's always some you like. And there's always usually maybe one piece or so that, not my favorite. So use that. So now we're going to score the other one exactly the same. The left side, the bottom, these are all being scored at 3. Okay, so now we are done with our scoring. Just out of my way. And now we get to take our bone folder and put good creases in these. So I like to bring my top down first. And I did score rather lightly because I did not want to tear my designer series paper. So we'll give that a good score in that direction. And then our sides, I don't know about you, but I have to go away from me. I don't score or fold very good when I try to pull it towards me. just a personal issue, I guess. Okay, that side, and we can do the bottom. And the other side. And you want to give them all a good crease so your box or your bag is nice and crisp. So now we're going to do the exact same thing to the other piece. So this was my top. This is going to make a colorful bag, don't you think? Very Christmassy. Every color in the rainbow in here almost. Doesn't really matter what order you score these in. You just want to get them a good crease, or I should say, it doesn't matter what order you crease them in. You just want to make sure you got a good crease going. I hope I'm staying in frame. I've never done anything quite so big on camera before. Okay, so now I have my two pieces. Now on one of these pieces, so this is the tutorial that shows you how to score, and it will tell you T down was your top, and mine was 2 inches, and then the other 3 sides are always your depth, and they are all going to be the same. So in my case, that was 3. So that's what we just did. We scored 2 up here for my bag size, and then 3 across the sides and bottom. So then we go to the next page in the tutorial, and there's a couple diagrams. This is diagram number 2. It's going to show you on one of these 2 pieces that you've just cut and scored, which are exactly the same. On one of them, you are going to remove this bottom corner, the bottom 2 corners. So let's go ahead and do that. And I am just going to use my paper snips. And sometimes it's easier to see on the side with less pattern. So that's why I will flip it over. It doesn't matter. Whichever one you can see the best, use that. Okay, you can save that for a tag or something else if you want. Because once we get these made, we do like to decorate them up a bit, as you saw in the pictures, right? Okay, so that's the piece that follows diagram number 2. We cut out these 2 corners, and now it looks like this, all right? So I'm going to move that out of my way. And I am going to go to diagram number 3. And on this piece, which was exactly the same, all we're going to do is snip in here on the sides up to the score line on each side. So, again, I'm flipping it over, but this is the bottom. Here's your top, which sometimes it helps to fold this back so you can remember that's your top. But here I am just going to cut in to the score line. On each side. Okay. So now I have these 2 pieces. And what we want to do with those 2 pieces is we're going to follow this picture here. This is our piece from diagram 3 where we just cut in on the sides, and this is the one from diagram 2 where we just cut the corners out. And you want to take these 2 pieces, and to give your bag a little bit of reinforcement, you want to either take a piece of thick white basic white cardstock, or I like to actually use the cardboard pieces that come in the designer series paper. You can see one of them's here. It's a little sturdier, so I like to use those. And we're going to put some adhesive on here. Where's my adhesive? Okay, right here. Oh, and I got a new adhesive, so be careful, Pat, or you're gonna have a big gooshy mess. Not enough, but you don't want it gooshing all over the place, right? So just lay that in there. And to determine the size of this, my recommendation is, obviously, since we made our bag 5 and our depth 3, it should be 5 by 3. But my recommendation is you measure this piece, because sometimes with scoring, it will be slightly off, and you want it to be maybe a 16th inch under, so that you can, once you lay it down, you can easily still fold up the sides, okay? So now we're going to put some adhesive on the other side, and then we will take this and lay it over. Aren't these a great way to use up 2 beautiful pieces of designer paper and make a cute little bag? And I like that you can customize it to whatever size you need, as long as you can do it within the 12-inch sections. Now I want to make sure that I can still fold these up. Yep. Let me just give it a good rub here. Okay, now my next hint is to make sure you fold these over before you start assembling, because once you put this together, if you have assembled this and these are up, it is nearly impossible to flip them over. So not that I've done that, but you want to make sure. So the other thing here, my hint is, what you want to look at is you kind of want to look at which side is going to be your front. So here I have, on this side back here, you can see where this piece, you can probably see where that edge is. So that should be my back, right? So that means I want this piece to be my front. So we're going to fold those in last, because that way we don't get any edges showing here. If I were to fold this in first and then bring this one up, now I have this edge you see here. So just pay attention to that as you're doing it. So we're going to bring these in last, because this is my nice clean thing. So I will fold this one up. And the easiest way to do that, I found, sometimes you need a little bit more thing here, because I did put a stiffener, is just to put some adhesive right on these flaps. And it also works best, I found, if you kind of do both of them at the same time. I tried to do them separately. In this particular step, it's not as big a deal, but in the next one, it becomes more difficult. So I bring it up, and I kind of hold this edge down against my table and make sure that this edge right here is flush, and just hold it for a second until it gets set. And then same thing, bring this in along the bottom of my table and bring this up and kind of push this edge so that these two are lined up. And they may not be perfect, but that's okay, because the next one you fold over is going to cover it, right? And sometimes it helps to just kind of lay them down and give them a good push on the table too, to get a nice crease. And the nice thing about green glue is it does give you a little time for wiggle room. So I give that a good push down in there. And now we're going to bring this one up and over. And again, you can put your glue on either side. If it bothers you that you have these little flappy things sticking out, what I found I like to do is I just put a little drop of glue down in there, and then I press it down. And if you put it down in far enough, it doesn't matter how much you put, because if it gooshes, you got plenty of room for the goosh to go. So that kind of holds it down, because I put a lot in that one. You don't need a lot. You just need a little bit down here in the flat edge. I hold that. Okay, that's pretty good. So now we're going to bring this up, like I said. And you can put your glue either on this side or on this side. I kind of like to put it on the flat side. It's just easier to smear it on for me, but obviously it doesn't matter. But here again, it is easier if you do them both at the same time, because if you get this one up, then it's hard to get glue on either piece, either this side or up here. So whichever way you do it, make sure you glue them both at the same time, or you put the glue on at the same time, I guess I should say. And you want to try to get it kind of close to the edge, but not close enough that it's going to go lightly on how much you put, because you don't want it gooshing out any more than necessary. So go lightly around the edges, and that should be good. All right, so now I'm going to fold this over on here. Works best for me for some reason to do it standing up. And I'm holding this edge, you can see that, so that they're even, and then just go inside and push down. Give it a good push. You can always take your bone folder and give it a good push. Here, I kind of squeeze so I get this close to the edge as I can. Flip it over and push. And I got glue all over my fingers, so pushing, it's sticking to the bag. And that is my bag. It is done. Now it looks like I got a little tear here, but we can cover that up with something, right? What do you think? Pretty good size bag for something. Now, we don't want, we can put a tag on here. We can add some ribbon. So I decided I'm going to use this. I found this ribbon in my stash. It's shaded spruce, and shaded spruce is in these. So I figured, well, that make a good handle. So the easiest way I found is just to take a punch. Kind of, oh, this one's nice. It's got a line, so I can see if I get it equal. I'll just go on the line. And I'll go in about, eyeball it, about that far from the edge. About the same over here. And then we'll go do the same here now. I don't know. It's the same line. Cool. I don't know why it turned out that way, but it did. Probably because it was from the same piece of paper, right? All right. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's going to sit there and measure it. Now, the easy way to do this is to just, and this is a little larger ribbon than I'm used to using, but I can get through. Feed it through, tie it in a knot. Pull. Now I would come back in here and trim that and make that a little bit pretty, but for expediency here, we won't do that right now. I can always do that. And obviously you can make these handles as long or as short as you want by controlling now how much. That's a pretty long handle, isn't it? Maybe I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. Halfway in between. How about that? That's pretty good. Now, as I do this, I want to make sure I got it twisted the right way here. So when I pick it up, it kind of lays the way I want it to. That's a good length. I like that. So I want my knot right about here somewhere. It's always easier to have too much than too short when you're tying knots. And obviously the first one, just do it however you want. And then the second one, now we have to compare it to the first, but I have plenty to ribbon to play with, so. And you don't have to put handles on. Some of them you'll see in the photos on the newsletter. You saw that they didn't all have handles because they're very sturdy, actually. So you can just pick them up this way. All right, now I'm going to kind of look at this and get it about the same length. All right, so I want my knot right around there. Maybe I should have done that after. Okay, do that again. Turn this up. Close enough. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay. Now, like I said, normally I would just take my snips. And this is not a fabric scissors, so it doesn't work real well. I need my nice scissors. This is great for paper, but not necessarily for fabric, right? Trim these off, clean them up a little bit. Don't ask me why I cut them at an angle. I'm just used to cutting them at an angle. And there we go. So now maybe you can see that. Okay, so now we have some handles. And here's my front. And I did pre-make a tag. So I can lay my tag on here. I think I will probably put a little piece of ribbon or something in that hole to cover it up. But you can either tie it with something and hang it from your ribbon, or you can just attach it with dimensionals. I'm just going to attach it with some dimensionals for now. Okay, so that'll sit on there. And then, of course, we need some paper, tissue paper, right? So this is kind of like the inside of the surprise of the card. No naked insides on your card. No naked tissue paper. So just buy some inexpensive white tissue paper from the dollar store is what I did. And I went ahead and stamped it. Stamp it on the non-shiny side with the tissue paper. I used all the colors from not all of them, but I used colors from there. And tuck it in. What do you think? Easy peasy, right? Wasn't too bad. So I hope that helped. I will put a link to the tutorial. There is a link in the newsletter to the written tutorial, but hopefully this helps you understand, because I know sometimes written instructions can be difficult. So let me flip back to my other screen. Okay, I hope you like that. I do have others here that I can show you the pictures. Maybe I'll show you a close-up of a couple of these. Just so you can see them a little closer, that are the bags that are in the newsletter. So let me quickly show you those a minute, okay? All right, here's the one we just made. Here's one for fall. This one uses the cute little squirrels. This one here, I do not have handles on it. Here's one for spring. Some pretty pansies, and these are from Season of Chic for my tag. You can obviously always put to and from, because I don't have necessarily, I don't know who's going to get these. I'm just going to put them in my stash, and I could always add that later. But there's the other one from the tutorial. Here's the cute, this one is made from 6x6 designer series paper, and you end up, so if you have a stash of 6x6 designer series paper, you can use this information. This you will end up with a 3x3.5, just a cute little bag. for something tiny. Good things come in small packages. And then the last one is I use the poinsettias to decorate, and this is the cottage something DSP from the current mini. With that has all the different plaids in it. So I was happy how that one turned out. So that's that one. So okay, now I'm gonna go back and call it good, right? I showed you everything I wanted to show you. I hope the directions are clear and I hope it's helpful. If you still have trouble when you try it, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm here and I am always available to help. So have a great day and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.